It's time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode of the Up North Journal podcast is brought to you by PSE Archery,
Carbon Express,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Wynd Scent Hunting Scents,
Killer Food Plots, Seeds, Supplements, and Attractants,
Cabela's,
Spot Shooters,
Limb Walker Turkey Calls,
Antler Action,
Family Tradition Tree Stands,
and Twisted Mind Bowstrings. And don't forget, you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on goodtalkradio.com. Welcome back to the Up North Journal podcast, everybody. I'm host Mike Adams, sitting in the cabin tonight with Dan DeFaw, back from ATA 2018.
What a trip.
Dude, I'm still wiped. I'm wore out, sick.
Well,
it's been a long, long week.
It was a long week, but a good week. We're having coffee right now because was it not nice going down there in 50-degree weather?
It was, but coming back to 15, come on, man.
Coming back to 10? Yeah, right. Wow. And then today, I don't know how high it got today, but I never left the house today. I was just kind of vegging and it was cold
relaxing and getting back in the swing of things. You know, you don't have to work tomorrow. Lucky for you.
No, I don't have to work tomorrow. So.
I do,
but you don't have to work early.
Yeah, right.
That would be terrible. But no, it was a great 4 days down in Indianapolis.
Absolutely.
And, we had a great time.
Well, we're going to talk about that in the second half of the show. Actually, we're going to kind of turn the wheels just a little bit backwards because a couple of weeks ago, we had the opportunity to talk to a former coworker of mine.
And a guy who made a dream come true.
Yeah, you know, everybody's got their dream job, and my buddy Ben took a chance and is now working for the Outdoor Channel. There's a Sportsman's Channel. Can't remember.
Yes. I think it's both.
Both, yeah. A whole group of different...
It's a conglomerate of those channels. And he's a videographer for them.
I'll tell you what, let's just get right into this interview we did a couple weeks ago with Ben. Sitting here this morning talking in the cabin with a special guest, Ben LaLonde, a friend of mine who I used to work with. Got him online right now.
You know, you worked with this guy, and I found out it's because of you. He skipped town and took off. He left because of you.
Okay, so while I'm setting up the equipment, you're sitting here bad-mouthing me. I see how you are.
You took this poor intern and turned him into who he is today and made him leave.
Hey Ben, help me out, man. You're online, I hope, still. Danny didn't hang up on you, did he?
Yes, I am. Not yet.
Well, everybody, we've got Ben LaLonde. He is part of the...
Outdoor Channel.
And an Outdoor Sportsman's Channel group, so to say, that whole group.
Yep, and he kind of chased his dream.
Mm-hmm. I inspired him to bigger and greater things.
Let's not go that far. But Ben, from what I've got a little bit to know you here, talking before we went on the interview, basically you decided to go and chase your dream of getting out there.
Yeah, yes. It was kind of by chance, you know. I worked in news. That's where I started working with Mike for a while. Mainly knew him as an intern, and then we were working completely separate shifts. Would see him here and there. And after that, I decided I didn't want to just edit all day, so I went with
our competitor.
A bit of camera work.
He went to our competing station.
But he didn't like being in the production booth and editing and everything, so he wanted to get into the video side of it. So he went and started to go working with the Outdoor Channel and group and company, and now you're going everywhere from Alaska to Mexico and everything in between, filming for that group.
Yep. That's exactly what it is. You know, it's been everything from hunts to our guns and ammo show to fishing, all that stuff, everything in between. You know, if it's outdoor sporting related, like. Other than, you know, it's not like your typical ball sports of football or basketball, anything like that. You know, it's just outdoor. It's the outdoor sports. You know, I mean, it's great. You know, it's been. We were talking before we actually started the interview here. I'd already thought it had been a year, but I remember the night you told me. It's only been 6 months. I really thought it was back in the winter of last year, but we were at a going away party for one of my coworkers, and lo and behold. We know so many people in the industry here locally that it seems like we all get together, all the stations, we all kind of work together and get together because we know so many people. And we're at this going away party, and all of a sudden I find out it's also for Ben, you know. And he's like, "Yeah, dude, I'm leaving. I'm leaving the station. I'm heading out, and I'm going to work in the outdoor industry." And I was just so
excited for you when you told me that. I just couldn't believe that somebody I knew was going to chase their dreams and go out and hit it hard. And what was going through your mind before you actually left town and you made that trip wherever you had to go?
Right. Yeah, it was a long process because, I was working in news for a few years, and some people love it, some people hate it, some people it's just a stepping stone. And for me, it was a stepping stone. I had done it for a few years, and it just wasn't doing it for me anymore. And I was looking for something else, something that, whether it be traveling or anything, one friend of mine recommended I try the Travel Channel. I love traveling. I was at the time 23 and single and nothing better to do. So I was like, you know what, why not? So I checked it and there was nothing there. And
was that one of your things when you were looking for this, your stepping stone to do something different? Was that one of your things you wanted to be outdoors, or is like you said, you were looking at travel, but was there something you were kind of hoping for and focusing on, or you're going to take whatever you could get and then go from there?
Exactly. I was just going to take whatever I could get. I wasn't sure what I could get. I had grown up seeing hunting channels or hunting shows mostly on PBS, or if I was somewhere, at some sporting goods store and they were airing the Outdoor Channel or something like that. But I never thought that I'd be there. If you had told me, it's been 6 months now. If you told me, it was about 8 months ago that I applied for it. But if you had told me, say, 9 months ago, even a year ago, that I'd be doing what I'm doing, I would have laughed. There's just
exactly, right. And it's one of those things that you're going to tell people you're not going to believe this, but I am doing this, and they're going to go, "What?" Like Mike.
Yeah, when the night he told me, I was just like, I about jumped out of my shoes. I was so excited because I know how hard it is to get into doing what he's doing.
Well, learning from you and working with you, it's not a very big field.
No.
And then Ben here working with a specific channel, the Outdoor Channel group, and seeing that and getting his foot in the door there and doing that.
Yeah.
I'm sure when you got that, however they said you're hired, I'm sure you probably were walking on cloud nine.
Oh, it was absolutely insane because I applied for it and I waited and like I had said, I had applied for 12 or 15 different places around the nation and hadn't heard from a single one of them. Got to the point where I was like, I was at a low point because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I know news isn't what I want to do, but I'm going to keep doing it. I'm not just going to give up.
Right.
I'm going to keep doing it and see what happens. See if something happens. And, I thought of moving up to northern Michigan and doing some stuff up there. Maybe working for a TV station up there. It'd be a different atmosphere for that kind of thing. And then right as literally I was starting to fill out an application for a station up there, and I got an email that said, "Hey, do you have a demo reel we can look at?" And I already had it uploaded online, ready to go, and I sent it in right away. Very next day, they sent me an email, "Hey, can we give you a call Wednesday?" And said, "Absolutely, anytime before 3 because I work at 3. So gave me a call. We did a phone interview. They said, "Hey, I'm going to pass this up the chain of command." He did that. Within a week or two, I was down in Illinois for the interview. And then a month after that, they called and said, "If you want it, it's yours."
Nice.
And here I am.
And that's why it took 2 months going back and forth with email and going down to Illinois. And the whole, man, that was probably a long 2 months for you.
Oh, it was the longest 2 months of my life to this point. So it seems anyways,
Right.
It was just, a lot of uncertainty. There were hundreds of applicants. Each time I talked to him, he'd say, I got this many more applications and this many more. And it's come down between you and one or two other guys. And so we're still making decisions. And it was just a lot of waiting. And, you want to follow up every day, but you can't do that. You don't want to be too crazy about it, so you got to follow up once a week. And finally you get that call and it's like a burden off your shoulders because you're like, okay, my life is about to take a 180-degree turn towards something that I've done all my life.
Right. Well, I tell you what, let's step outside. I want to save our time for this next part of the show here to answer a few questions about actually getting out there and doing the work. So we're going to step outside. We'll be right back after this break.
PSE Archery has always dominated the speed category. Now, the most revolutionary cam system ever to hit the market has perfected the shooting experience. Introducing PSE's Evolve Cam System, featuring extremely high let-off capabilities and the smoothest draw cycle in history. No other cam system has ever delivered this level of total comfort and total control. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Killer Food Plots have been helping property owners for over 20 years create premier whitetail habitat. Whether replenishing your soil with their all-natural Organics Fusion pellets or planting a premier KFP food plot seed blend to help your deer rebuild their bodies through spring and summer while supplying the much-needed high energy during and after the rut, you can trust that Killer Food Plots family and their products will help your deer achieve their full potential.
Welcome back, and we just got
Well, you know,
it's 9 degrees here right now. Let me just say that
we're sitting here in the
to
cabin, freezing at a whopping 9 degrees here in Fenton, Michigan.
And what do we find out?
And we find out that Ben here, that we have on, Ben LaLonde, who's on the phone with us, gets hired, and then gets told that, hey, why don't you go do your first hunt in Hawaii?
Really, Ben?
Yeah. It happened. It happened. I had a couple small shoots before then. One was a fishing shoot. One was a little shoot with one of our sponsors. But, after that, they're like, all right, we need to start you on your hunts. Let's send you to Hawaii. And I was like, okay.
Oh,
I won't argue that one.
I was just about to say, you're going to say, well, no, I can't go to Hawaii. No, that's just not right.
So you touch down in Hawaii. You get off the plane. What's going through your mind at this point? Are you pinching yourself going, is this real?
Absolutely. I still do that. Mm-hmm. There's times where I'm walking through an airport and I just get the biggest cheesy grin on my face because it's like all these people around me, they got the suits, they got the ties.
Yeah.
They're all super professional. And of course I'm being professional too, but it's like I can't help but smile because it's like, I never thought this would have been possible, but here I am. I get off the plane in Hawaii. First, we flew into the Big Island and I've got 5 hours layover before my flight to Lanai, the little island that we actually hunted on. And, I get there and I'm like, I got 5 hours. I'm going to go down to the beach. So I just walked about 1.5 miles down to the beach to a little lagoon down there and just looking around me and, the palm trees, the ocean. I had never seen the Pacific Ocean in person in my life. Wow. And there I was in the middle of it.
Right in the middle. That's pretty
Absolutely.
Cool.
It was incredible.
Okay, so we know what your warmest hunt was probably, or at least you're out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. But okay, you talked about being, before we actually started recording, you told us you're in British Columbia, you've been in Alaska, Mexico, and in these 6 months, have you run into a situation out there that maybe you didn't expect that maybe put you on edge a little bit? I mean, because you're chasing big game animals, I mean, you're in these new places.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I had never hunted dangerous game before.
Okay.
And so being in Alaska, that was 10 days in the wilderness, and they said, hey, you might want to carry a gun, 357 mag or bigger, because these grizzly bears are feisty critters. Yeah. So that, I wasn't too nervous, and I had a 10 millimeter with me that I carried on me at all times. You go to use the bathroom, you take it with you. Right. You go to fill up your little water bottle in the river, you take it with you. You don't go anywhere without that.
Right.
That was fine. One night though, we were sitting on there's the Noatoic River comes down through the out of the Brooks Ranges, or thereabouts. It's fed by a lot of streams out of the Brooks Ranges, and we were a few miles east of the Brooks Ranges. So those rivers and tributaries were coming right by us. So we were crossing those all the time. and ice cold glacier water. And so we always had water whenever we needed it. We just run it through a little filter and we were good. So there were these little pools every now and then that would gather up, and the salmon had already spawned at that point. So a lot of them, after they spawn, they die. They go wherever. Well, a lot of them would gather in these pools.
Okay.
And, they call them dogfish because they get these weird teeth on them when they do that. Or they also call them zombie fish because they're already dead practically. Right. They're just kind of existing. And so we'd go there, and there'd be hundreds of tracks from, we counted at least 3 or 4 different bears, that their tracks were there. And the biggest one, I have a picture of my hand next to, it's one paw, and it's just, I've got pretty large hands, and it's just dwarfed by this bear claw. And so we're there, the guy's hunting, we're with our guide, and I'm sitting. I'm the first thing that a bear is going to see if they come to that pool, if they see us. And it's about 20 yards across the pool. It's not real big. And I wasn't thinking anything of it. I wasn't worried about it. We'd been hunting for, I think, 5 or 6 days at that point. And, we're sitting there, and we'd seen the sign. The bears were obviously there a lot. And we'd seen a lot of signs of cubs, too, which, means there's a mama bear that's down nearby. And I didn't think anything of it until the guide leans over to me. He says, you better be ready, because if a sow comes out with her cub and she sees you, you haven't got much time to shoot or get out of the way or whatever. You're hunting these bears. Unless it's a life or death situation, you can't shoot a sow with cubs because, it's just illegal, right? So we don't want to do that. But, they said if you do need to shoot a bear, you don't want to shoot it, you want to shoot it before it's even 20 yards away.
Right.
And I said, okay, whereabouts is that? I'm often terrible at judging distances. And they said about the edge of that water. Great. So I'm sitting there, and, I got the 10 millimeter on my side. I'm like, I better loosen it in its holster just a little bit. And I was not nervous until that point.
Then
we had seen a few bears way out in the distance.
Okay.
And but then sitting there, and he's like, this could happen.
Yeah. And
then I kind of took a minute to think about it, to okay, this could happen. It didn't happen.
Isn't that great?
Night,
Isn't that great when you're out there? You're just going about it, and then somebody points something out like that. And now it's in the back of your mind for the rest of the trip.
Right.
That you're now
exactly.
You're the official hunted.
Yeah. You want to be the next smoky stick for a bear,
right?
Or a cougar or whatever you're hunting. Wow.
Right. We were dropped in by bush planes, an hour and a half in there that they flew us in these bush planes, and no one around for hundreds of miles, and no cell service because of that. The guide had a sat phone, and if something were to happen, it'd be a while before they could get any of us out of there.
Right.
And it was an awesome experience. We were about 150 miles up into the Arctic Circle, and we were staying in dome tents. So each of us had a little dome tent that we had. Some of the guys had to share a tent. Me, with all my camera gear, I had my own tent, thankfully.
Yeah. But, hugging the batteries, keeping the batteries warm at night.
Exactly. And we'd wake up, and my tent was the closest to a big flat. It essentially became a landing strip, but in the first of spring, when all the snow starts to melt, that becomes a big, huge, wide river. There's a river that's probably a good 20, 30 yards across, quite a ways away from that, but that whole, it's got to be half-mile wide, becomes a rushing river.
Yeah, put the guy over, new guy by the river. In case it melts, we're going to let him get swept away.
Right. So, we're probably a quarter mile from the actual river at this point. The river was down quite a bit. But, there'd be a lot of sand along it, and my tent was the closest to any of that. And we'd wake up, go out in the morning, and there'd be bear tracks not too far from where my tent was.
That'd make me uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's something that never having hunted big game before, it's just stuff I didn't think of.
Right. That'd be
or
not
that I haven't hunted big game, but dangerous game.
Right.
So
and
it's
and the walls of that tent was going to protect you.
Yeah. Right.
Right. I might get a half-second warning when a claw comes ripping through it.
Right, exactly.
But,
The bear's going to look
I
like
wake
candy
up
wrapper.
right, exactly. A little appetizer there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, looking at your experiences, what's been your most embarrassing moment? I mean, because we all know with cameras out there, things happen. I mean, do you have a dead battery? Do you drop a camera? I mean, just looking back, I know it's been a short 6 months, but
Sure.
But what sticks in your mind that's like, man, and they make fun of you?
I work with a crew. Sometimes I'm the only one filming, and I have one or two hunters. Sometimes there's a crew, depending on the shoot.
Right.
I get a lot of flack because I'm the youngest one there.
Okay.
But it's all in good fun. But probably the worst was also in Alaska. Because it was cold, it was rainy, just soaked, and I had gotten this rain gear that was not very good quality.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't realize it. I thought it was good stuff, so I went with it. And 3 days in, I soaked to the bone, raining all day. We're about to hunt the edge of this river, about a mile down from where our base camp was. Mm-hmm. And I get to the edge of this river, and I hadn't been drinking water, and because I was cold, I was wet, and
sure.
I wasn't thirsty.
Right.
I didn't think anything of it. I was getting dehydrated, and so we're on the edge of this river, this little riverbank that's about 3-4 feet up, and I stand on the edge of it. I'm about to sit down on it. My feet slip out from under me.
Oh no!
And I hit the ground hard. Wasn't because I passed out, but my feet went out from under me because there was a lot of loose gravel on the edge. Mm-hmm. And caught myself with my hand, bent my thumb backwards, and just about passed out after that. And all of a sudden, I start feeling all these woozy feelings. I tell the guys, I'm like, guys, I think I'm about to pass out.
Oh no!
And, oh boy!
Right. And the guy asked me, he says, have you been drinking water? I was like, some. And yeah, he says, he's trying to figure out, asking me a few questions, finds out I'm dehydrated. He's like, man, you need to be drinking water all the time.
Right.
And, I'm just worn out but it's like I'm burning up, and it's cold outside, but I'm just like burning up because of all these things. And so I got to start stripping some layers off, and I take my rain jacket off, and the guy I'm hunting with goes to hang it up. And he's like, is this your rain gear? I said, yup. He's like, this is soaked through. I said, yup, it's been that way since it started raining. And,
man.
He's like, oh, we can't do this. And then I started shivering, couldn't keep my body temperature up. We had to duck out a bit early that night because of that, and they just started pumping me full of water. I mean, I drank 2 liters of water sitting there, another liter when we finally got back to camp, and then I was drinking water nonstop after that, and it was not a fun experience, and it was cold, so we had a camp stove that we'd kind of point towards my tent, into my tent to keep it warm, mm-hmm. but vented and all that. And
right.
And so I was cozy as could be that night. I slept, I think it was about 11 hours straight that I slept.
Wow.
And just because my body was worn down from being so dehydrated.
Yeah, you get into a situation where you're pushing, and it doesn't even enter your mind, you just
right.
You're all about the moment. I can see how that can happen.
And after that, I was better. And one of the things, I didn't know if you could probably run this on your podcast. One of the things that the guy had asked me was like, what color is your pee?
Uh-huh.
I had heard before that it has to do with, dehydration
sure.
levels and hydration levels and all that.
Right.
And I said, well, it's yellow. He's like, it should be clear.
Right.
You're not drinking enough water. You're dehydrated.
Yep.
And then I got the camp stove that night. After that, I did not stop. I was watching my colors after that, making sure I was clear as could be, drinking a ton of water.
Right.
Well, after that, the joke was, it was cold at night, and we were all wet and rainy at the end of a lot of the days. And after that, the 2 guys I was hunting with were like, oh, man, my pee's yellow. I need the heater in my tent. Oh, this is so bad. So that was, it was a bit embarrassing. I was like, I should know better than this.
Yeah.
But, it's just, there's so much going on, new experiences. Never having been that far north before, never having been that far, well, at the furthest west, Hawaii
right.
before that. But
Well, what about altitude? Were you up in the mountains, altitude wise?
No, we were pretty well sea level at that point. Up a little bit, maybe a few hundred feet.
Okay, that's right. You said you're by the river. Yeah. Okay.
Right, not quite into the ranges. I have had a few hunts, whitetail hunt recently in Wyoming that was in some about depending on where you were, anywhere from 4,000 to 5,600 feet.
Okay.
And that was, man, you don't realize it. Just a little bitty hill that would be nothing to me around here.
Kicks
and
your
all
butt.
of a sudden I'm halfway up, and oh man, it beats you up, and it's like, you're like, are my lungs still working?
Right.
You're halfway up this hill, trudging a 40-pound camera with a 40-pound camera tripod with a 40-pound pack on your back for extra batteries and all that stuff, and it's just, man, it beats you down physically, but it's a good thing. It's like I've just, these experiences have been absolutely incredible, and things I never thought I would do. And at the end of the day, I'm exhausted, but
it's a good exhaustion.
I go to bed not worrying about, it's not day turn pieces like in the news. We're filming half-hour shows.
Exactly.
And Hawaii, I came back. I had 8.5 hours of footage that was going to be squished down into 22 minutes and however many seconds.
Yep.
With ads and all to make a half-hour show. So it's like, it's just, you film, you can never have too much footage, and it's just, it's cranking it out. But at the end of the day, you sleep like a rock.
Yeah. Right. Well, one last thing here. I don't want to keep you too much longer here. I know it's a Friday morning here when we're recording, but when you're looking through the lens, has there been a point when you're looking through the lens and what you're seeing, you get so caught up in the moment that you almost forget what you're doing, that you're just in awe of what you're seeing through the lens?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up whitetail hunting with my dad, and when I was real young, I just never stopped talking, and my dad would just sit there with a grin on his face, knowing he wasn't going to see anything. And then I've had a few successful hunts myself, but it's just it's been 4 years since my last one, just because the last 2 years I've been doing this job, and then before that, I was working my other full-time job that I just I couldn't get the time off to go hunting. So it's like, man, it's something I'd love to do. Well, then we're out. We're in Kansas, and I'm seeing, like, for the first time in person, bucks, working does. I'd seen them chasing does before, but never working them, getting them, figuring out, which one's ready for breeding and which one they want and all that. And I've seen so many deer sparring and bucks that would just blow anyone's mind.
Right.
And just to see that stuff, to see, all these animals in nature that I thought I knew about.
Right.
And then to realize how much I don't know. I had an incredible opportunity on my last hunt down in Mexico to work with Dr. James Kroll. He's Dr. Deer. Just an incredible, very smart man who's done a lot of work with whitetails and developing, and researching them and all that. And just every word out of his mouth, you learn something. And
absolutely, that's the incredible part. What you can learn from other people. I know who you're talking about. I've worked with him 3 times, and yeah, with him, it's almost like he commands your attention. You just hang on every word. It's incredible.
He's not soft spoken, but he's not like loud either. He speaks and you listen, and it's like, okay, what can I learn now? And so much, and then seeing what he or any of the other guys that have been teaching me have been talking about, to see it unfold in camera. And it's like, I forget for a minute what I'm doing. And it's like, all I'm worried about is keeping that focus on camera and just seeing it happen, in real life, just seeing the way it just happens out there is just absolutely, absolutely incredible, and the different places I've been, it's just a backdrop for the way it is, seeing these different animals, seeing a muskox out in Alaska was incredible. We saw it way across, and we got within about 300-400 yards of it, and it was just, I had never seen that before. And they're like, well, it's pretty rare to see one by itself, especially here. And there it was, to see, to see the way these mama bears would tend their cubs. You know, even a mile away, you could watch the big long lens I had and just see it unfold. You know, to see the way, even the way that, like, coyotes, you know, as much as we hate them,
right?
Just
watching them work,
they can be detrimental. To watch them work, to watch them put their stalk on. You know, we had a decoy. We were in Kansas. We had a decoy set up, a very realistic decoy, and this coyote comes out, and the guy I was hunting with did a couple calls for it, and you could tell it was confused because it was sitting there looking at the decoy. It had started in on that decoy, but then was hearing these little sounds that sounded like an animal in distress and wasn't sure what to make of it, and it just sat down and sat there about 10 or 15 minutes just staring, not moving a single muscle. And, you know, to see the bucks work the does, you know, to see, you know, when that monster buck, you know, and whether, you know, it be considered trophy by some people, no matter if it's Boone and Crockett, just to see it happen.
Right.
Is,
awe-inspiring.
you know, absolutely. You forget about, you know, Boone and Crockett scales. You forget about, you know, you forget about all this, you know, the fact that I have other footage to shoot. In that moment, you're so focused on what's happening in front of you that, like, any other worry, any other care just kind of fades away. And it's like, I don't get the same adrenaline as when I'm behind the gun myself. But I definitely get a shot of adrenaline. It's a different type of adrenaline.
I understand,
you know,
that. I do. Like, that being behind the camera, you can't describe it enough to people who don't get it, because when you're behind the camera, it's different, and you hit the nail right on the head. The adrenaline rush is different.
Right. It's still, I mean, it's so rewarding, you know, to be able to be at the end of a successful hunt. And, you know, it's tough because some days you'll nail one on the first day. Other days, you know, you'll be going for days on end, not seeing anything. Then when that big boy finally shows up and it's just your jaw drops and you're like, this is the moment we've been waiting for.
The magical moment. Yep.
It's incredible. Absolutely incredible experiences that I've been on. Absolutely looking forward to any of the future ones I'm going on. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I could sit here and talk to you all day. I mean, honestly, it's just, I crave this stuff, but you're so right. The adrenaline rushes are so much different when you're behind the camera. The things that we can learn by having a camera and watching versus hunting. I mean, we're hunting with a camera, basically, is what we're doing. And
right.
It is simply incredible. I've been out west one time, and I've got a glimpse into that world just a little bit, and definitely want to go back sometime. But I tell you what, where can people, I mean, you've worked on a lot of different projects, but where can people see some of your work? Where would they be able to find some of your work at some point in time?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been, the last few months have been North American Whitetail, just nonstop. You know, we've got our magazines, we've got our TV show. You may see some of my pictures in magazines in the future.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
But, you know, the TV show, the Outdoor Channel and the Sportsman's Channel, that's where it's happening, you know. Because I'm on the road so much, I hardly get a chance to see it myself.
Right.
So I can't tell you right offhand. I know North American Whitetail's on the Outdoor Channel. You know, so you've got that. You've got Peterson's Hunting Adventures. I filmed 3 hunts for them now.
Okay.
I filmed for the show. It's called The Outfitters. It's a Built Ford Tough series. When we were out in the Boston area doing shark fishing, 40 miles out into the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay.
You know, I'd never been to the Atlantic Ocean in person, and there I was 40 miles into it. 2 weeks later, I'm in the Pacific Ocean in Hawaii. It's just so, you know, I mean, all these shows of all these different places, you know, they're airing a lot of them on the Outdoor Channel, the Sportsman's Channel, and then the Guns and Ammo TV. I get to be a pretty big part of that too. So if you just watch one of these shows in the 2018 season, you know, I mean, you watch the credits, you may see my name at the end, you know.
Right on. So. Cool. That's awesome. Do you have a professional Facebook page people could go to?
I probably should.
There's an idea for you.
Right. Yeah. No. I used to have one. I could probably just re-up that and change it a bit. Okay. And yeah. I mean, you know, some people, if people want to follow me on that, I will get it set up and touch base with you guys, and hopefully we can can get some views on it or something, and
yeah, let us know.
Absolutely.
I try to post something on every hunt, so.
Yeah, I see some of your stuff that you've been posting. It's simply incredible. When I first saw some of the photos that you were posting, I was like, yeah, he's out there. He's hitting it big, man. When I look at people that I've worked with and had some small part in their life, just being able to work with them, and I see like what you're doing, it's so rewarding for me to see people like you go out and hit it hard and be successful. It's really cool, man. And next time you're back in town, get a hold of us. We'll get you back on. We'll talk about. We'll check to make sure that your pee is clear.
Right. Yes. Yeah, always checking that now. Always checking that.
Right on. Well, I'll tell you what, man, it's been a pleasure having you on the show and taking the time out of a Monday morning for us and sitting down and chatting with us. But get out there, man, and keep laying down some great footage.
All right. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
You bet.
So what do you do when you've completely redefined the way bows are engineered? When you've reached the pinnacle and the band starts playing your victory song, you start a revolution out of thin air. Introducing the best bow in the world. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Killer Food Plots have been helping property owners for over 20 years create premier whitetail habitat. Whether replenishing your soil with their all-natural Organics Fusion pellets or planting a premier KFP food plot seed blend to help your deer rebuild their bodies through spring and summer while supplying the much-needed high energy during and after the rut, you can trust that Killer Food Plots family and their products will help your deer achieve their full potential.
ATA, man. A hard rocking 4 days.
You got it.
What do you think? Overall, coming back, what do you think?
Okay, so overall, ATA show. Always good to go down and see friends we know.
Absolutely.
That was a good time.
Caught up with a lot of people. Caught up with a lot of local people we haven't seen in a while, too.
You know what? It was like we were having the Michigan connection going on.
It is. It was a big Michigan party, kind of. But,
But
overall.
Been there last year. Overall, we definitely noticed something was different when we walked in.
Absolutely. To me, the floor space seemed a lot looser.
Well, we noticed that last year, the vendors who were on the outside in the hallways
were on the inside.
We're now on the inside.
Yeah.
And we noticed quite a bit of distance from like the doors to the aisles.
Yeah.
Right?
The floor plan to me seemed more, it was spread out. There's there's more space available to walk down aisles. There was more places to eat at.
There was more space taken over by the ATA itself.
Absolutely. So I think what they're doing is filling holes. And I don't know if that's because companies didn't show up. I don't know if that's because conglomerates bought some of these smaller companies.
Well, that was a part of the discussion was a floor plan that you usually take 5 different companies now is under one company, and they just need one pad, right, just to promote all those companies.
Right.
But, we definitely noticed a downturn in participation.
Yeah, I didn't think there was as many people that actually showed up to attend the event this year.
I didn't think so.
And I think that's been happening over the last 3 or 4 years.
Well, we talked about that. The mom and pop businesses are getting kind of either bought up
or squeezed out.
Right. So, we overall, good show for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we found some great products. We found some, met up with some friends and made some new friends.
Right. And then talking to some of the vendors, as far as them taking business, was sometimes slow, sometimes busy. When we were around the PSE area, it kind of, one time there'd be nobody. Next time
it'd be packed. Right.
So you could definitely see.
Came in waves.
Right. Like after the first day after lunch, the place was jam-packed.
Yep. And then the second day it was packed.
Right. And I think maybe weather might have had something to do with it because coming in and trying to beat the weather.
Absolutely.
Because there was a little weather issue down there. but it wasn't too bad.
There was no issue with the weather, man. The weather was great the first 2 days.
Well,
50 and 60 degrees, man.
First, when we drove down there, it was we left here and we just watched the temperature rise and rise and rise. As we
It was great, man. It was awesome being able to kind of spread your wings a little bit and flap because it's been a cold, hard winter here in Michigan.
Right, exactly. So it was nice to get down there and be 54 degrees when we stepped out of the vehicle.
And then reality set back in as we came back home.
Right, it did. We were heading north, watching that temperature drop.
Yeah. So, but overall, what caught your eye? What was like? Wow, that's pretty cool. I never would have thought of that.
Cool factor.
Yeah, cool factor
was obviously the Garmin site, the bow site.
Yeah, that thing kind of blew the internet up and stopped it.
It did. So, and people were asking it on Facebook, asking us to go check it out. We did it on Saturday.
Yeah.
Stopped in with Josh, talked with him.
Yep.
Had him demonstrate it for us. Truthfully, I think for me, something like that, the price tag is going to be a little too high.
The fact also that it's not legal to use in all states.
Well, that's going to be the very big question when this thing starts hitting. It won't be able to be used in Wisconsin,
right?
Colorado, and I think actually David Boggs actually had a number like a dozen states. I thought right off the bat.
Okay.
I think he was telling me, but Josh Hagerman stepping in. What's up, guys?
Hey, Josh, what's going on? Got to spend a lot of time down there hanging around him too, and talking to him and his group. So that's cool.
Absolutely, but the cool factor was that
right.
The neat factor was on the last day again was the doe and heat test strips.
Oh yeah, you stopped and talked with Doug Roberts of Conquest. Deer Sense.
Got Conquest 300.
Yeah,
Deer Sense right here in our back door.
Yeah,
they had this
literally right down the street from where I work.
Right, exactly. He had this little red box out there, and I read it in test kit. Know when the rut is.
Yeah.
So you take a test strip out, you test it. If it turns red, the doe in that scrape, there's a hot doe.
So it's kind of a pheromone test.
It's a pheromone test that you can definitely interesting to be able to tell you if you have a hot doe in your area.
We're gonna have to stop over there and talk with him a little more and see, check on that product and just see how that thing works. I'd like to see it, him demonstrate how the thing actually plays out.
Absolutely, and I bet you he was great to talk to, explain the product well. Mm-hmm. But to me, those were the two things that kind of jumped about. What about you?
Well, the fact that PSE just keeps making stuff bigger, better, faster, stronger. The Stealth, the new Stealth bow, the carbon fiber riser bow was just incredible.
The monocoque one piece.
Yeah, it's been redesigned. You think about the Carbon Air from last year. It's not anything like that. That riser is totally different.
It's totally different.
The
stealthy.
The fact that they've kind of broken up into 4 categories, how you can categorize what your needs are for archery, and it kind of guides you into what bows fit those categories.
If you want speed, you want
comfort,
you want adaptability,
or target. Yeah, right on. So
right, you can actually build it to the way you like it.
And I guess that's the thing that I really learned, the difference between like the speed mod for the Stealth versus the standard comfort mod like we got on our Evolve cams.
I tell you what, that speed mod was it took me right back to the Omen.
Yeah, that thing slings arrows incredibly fast.
But is it touchy at that valley?
Right. Yeah.
It goes forward. It's not. It doesn't want to stop.
Right. If we get the video done here real soon, we get that out. You're gonna see when I shot. I got back and I kind of double pump because it reminded me a lot of that. But the speed is unreal.
No doubt.
So, that was really cool. I guess the thing that was kind of the cool factor for me was the Primos blind that everybody had talked about. Actually, I think it was Billy Hoffman that wanted us to go by and look at it, and that was pretty impressive.
Right,
the
exactly.
technology behind that was pretty cool.
Like you said, when we walked up, if you have that brushed in properly,
yeah,
I think that'll be a lights out thing.
Yeah, because you can't see through it to look into it, but you get inside the blind, and when you look out, you can see. It's like not having anything in front of you.
Exactly. You can't shoot through it, so you got to have the windows open. But it's just that gives you, and it's even the whole panel and below.
Right.
So it lets in a lot of light.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because now that I think about it, It's one of the things when I'm in those pop-ups, and if I'm close to the swamp, it gets darker quicker inside, and then when you put your head out, you're like, oh, it's still
right.
So I wonder if this is actually going to keep it lighter later.
Oh, you mean as far as for light, for like shooting light?
Right, to
right.
getting inside your blind.
That's an interesting concept. I didn't even think about that, as far as light gathering capability.
Because right there on the show floor, where it was bright.
Yeah, it was.
But now take that out and I wonder if that's going to let in more light earlier and later.
Yeah, it might gauge a couple minutes one way or the other. So. But yeah, that was pretty interesting. Speaking of blinds, there was a new blind company down there called Native Blinds. I do want to give them a shout out for the concept of getting in and out of a blind. You
really like that flip open style blind as opposed to a zipper.
I didn't like the material, but I really like the concept.
Right, it was a great concept. I love the thought of sliders.
Yeah. Of
sliding up and down. To me, the back door that flipped totally up.
Yeah, they took you think of a hub style pop-up blind, okay? And when you take like a whole panel wall and it was hinged at the top. It wasn't like the zipper, the diagonal zipper where you come in at a corner and try to crawl through and zip it back down, making noise. You basically just lift this thing up as like a hinge system, and you lift it up, go in, and let it back down. To me, it was like, that's a no-brainer.
That's a great one, and it's also great for handicap accessibility.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you got a mechanized vehicle or
you can roll right into it. Yeah,
you can roll right into it with ease.
Right on.
And Andy, you're right. Going back to the Primos blind, someone's going to forget that they're in the blind and shoot through it. I can see that. He's right, because when you're sitting there, like Mike, when we did the video, it was on the outside.
Yeah.
At one point, you're right.
And to give you some kind of idea of what it's like being in there, we found this out on the way home. We stopped at Steak and Shake for a quick dinner on the way home. And as I'm sitting there, Danny's got his back's to the wall, to the window. And they've got these pull-down shades. And if you've ever been to, even
a restaurant,
they got the pull-down shades where you can see out, but it's a blind. But when you go outside, you can't see in.
Right.
It's that same effect, that same type effect.
Yep, exactly.
So that's one way I would kind of equate that to giving you some kind of concept. But we got video on this stuff, and actually, as we sat down, I just got done converting video and photos and stuff. So
right, stay tuned for the video.
Yeah, we couldn't get them out to pour. We could actually put them on the live stream tonight. So we couldn't get the turnaround that quick.
Right, and then Fourth Arrow.
You know what? Let's take a quick break. We come back. We'll pick it up on the back end there, and we'll continue to run down a couple of products that really caught our eye.
All right.
We're going to step outside. We'll be right back after this.
I shoot PSE because I like one pin to 40 yards.
I shoot PSE for the perfect combination of feel and performance.
I shoot PSE because you can shoot lighter poundage and increase arrow speed.
I shoot PSE for the fastest bows on the planet.
I shoot PSE because my livelihood depends on my bow.
I shoot PSE because better engineering makes a better bow.
I shoot PSE.
I shoot PSE.
I shoot PSE. I shoot PSE.
Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Killer Food Plots have been helping property owners for over 20 years create premier whitetail habitat. Whether replenishing your soil with their all-natural Organics Fusion pellets or planting a premier KFP food plot seed blend to help your deer rebuild their bodies through spring and summer while supplying the much-needed high energy during and after the rut, you can trust that Killer Food Plots family and their products will help your deer achieve their full potential.
Welcome back, last segment of the show. Talking about ATA, talking about all the cool stuff we saw, things that caught our eye, things we're thinking about. Right before we went to break, you was talking about Wynd Scents and Fourth Arrow. That company's kind of meshed together with the camera arms and the Wynd Scent grenades and Wynd Scent dispersal
What side
system.
of the booth, yeah.
Exactly. It's the left or the right.
Right, exactly. The left side's got all these camera arms around us, which we got to sign.
Absolutely, yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah.
So now I'm going to have to see it at the next show.
Left our mark on it.
We did. We left our mark on it. And they came up with some great little inventions. Last year they came out with the little phone holder.
Mm-hmm.
This year they're coming out with a if you're in a box blind, kind of like basically a C-clamp that you can attach the camera pole to
the 2x4 frame.
Right.
And it's got a monopod hooked to that, so it goes right to the floor for stability.
Right, and then you can, if you're not in a box blind, they came up with an adapter that goes in a hub style blind.
Speaking of all the blinds we've been talking about, hub style.
Yep, exactly. And a hub style blind, it's a little bracket. You slide it down on the poles, and it gets its stability, and it gives you a place where you can attach the C clamp to it and have the monopod with the arm.
Right, so they're extending their camera gear out to people who not only hunt in a tree stand, but now they've got stuff that works in a box blind. They got stuff that'll work on a hub style blind to where you can get your camera out and get out and film your hunts.
Exactly. So those are a couple new things. They're working on we talking with Gabe. Mm-hmm. Gave him a couple tips on some of the things that
we'd like to see.
Well, one was an obvious thing that it wasn't actually. I talked to him about the screw-in thing, which we told him it was illegal to do it on state land.
Right.
Which he agreed. He goes, oh, yeah, and by the way, he thought actually on, the bases that they have?
Yes.
They used to have a spot where you could take that and put it in the base.
Oh, okay.
But they removed it.
They need to put it back.
Right, exactly.
They need to put it back on.
Exactly. And then over on the other side of the booth...
no. They had one more thing. I tried to get you to do the dance.
Oh, the slide.
The cha-cha slide.
Cha-cha slide. That is cool.
Yeah. So, anybody that's into photography or videography, if you know what a slider is, they actually built a mini slide that will actually has their post on it, so it'll go into the receivers on their bases.
Yep.
Which I thought was very cool. And if you put it on a tripod, you can tilt it and set the drag on it to do a nice slow little slide. Many things you can do with this thing. Just rotation.
You can tilt it on an angle. It rotates.
So that's a pretty cool device. Check that out as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, but I tried to get Dan to do the cha-cha slide.
I did.
You did a little bit.
I did a little bit.
A little bit.
On the other side of the booth was the Vapor Sense, Wynd Scents, and they have come up with last year another remote controlled one. Kind of looks like a flashlight, but it uses the regular batteries now instead of rechargeables.
Right.
I think AA's.
Yes.
And then it comes with a remote, so you can set it down somewhere in 1, 3, 5 minutes.
Yep. And the thought process behind you going to AA's versus rechargeable, you get out into a remote area where you don't have a wall plug where you can plug in and recharge. You take a pack of batteries with you and you can switch them out.
Right.
And actually, they do last a pretty long time. So
exactly. And then right from there, just like Billy kind of tipped us off there, they have combined with another Michigan company.
Absolutely.
And now they have in Wynd Scent the vapors. They now have
the Conquest Deer Sense.
Yeah, Evercom. So
yep. So you get the different. I think it was 3 different ones right now.
Right now they got 3 different. Well, they have 3 different ones on the rack. So
right.
I'm sure they are going to work together, and that's going to be awesome.
All right.
See that coming.
Yeah, somebody's at the door.
You think?
Yeah, my dog's barking. So if you guys hear, Andy Eberhard asked about the Primos cam, the new Primos cam. No, we did not get to check that out. We really didn't get into the cameras too much. The only camera we really even talked about, or we didn't even look at it, was the new one by Hawk. We talked with one of the reps there that we know about their new game camera, and that's going to be set up more on a Bluetooth type system.
A Bluetooth phone app
to set the camera up.
Yeah, and it basically was a one-button camera on-off, and then you ran the rest of it from your phone app.
Yeah, so
called the Ghost.
Yeah, so.
Oh yeah, and Spartan came out with
the Ghost. So that would be interesting to
They'll
see how
fight
that plays
one out, right?
So, so what else?
Well, other than those,
we spent some time over at Copper John. We spent some time over at Stan's. We spent a lot of time at PSE.
We were over at Killer Food Plots. He's got a couple new items coming out.
Yeah. The big announcement that we made was hooking up with Carbon Express arrows this year. So
we're going to be joining forces with Carbon Express this year. Stay tuned for
a lot of work.
Going down there. Yeah. But had a good time with Paul Penix as usual.
Yep.
And then obviously Dan Yassa over at
Hats
PSE.
off to Dan, man. He hooked us up with some interviews that we're going to be running here on the podcast of just some really cool people we met while we were down at ATA.
Absolutely.
And got to sit down. So I'm not going to give any names
you know
away
what?
right now.
And there was, but that's not an interview. That's nothing we got taped or anything. was about the 45 minutes we stood with Pete Shepley, the owner of PSE,
That
just
was
listening
cool.
to him talk.
There's nuggets of conversations that you get to listen to while you're there on the show floor. And we got to spend 45 minutes listening to some things. And those are just like audio gold. Those things are memories you just don't forget.
Exactly. Andy, did we see any new broadheads that piqued our interest? Matter of fact, I was just looking at one tonight by Allen. It's got a fixed 2-blade and it's got the expandable.
Built together?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if it doesn't open up, you're still cutting with 2 blades.
Okay.
And then it's got, and I forget what they called it. I want to say it was hypodermic, but I'm not sure. I know Rage has got hypodermic.
Right.
But, yeah, that one would probably be about the one that piqued our interest. We really didn't see a lot of broadheads. We were kind of running around more meetings than anything.
Right. And I think, didn't G5 come out with it was Dead Meat? Is that the name of that?
Dead Meat, yeah.
Yeah, the expandable broadhead they got.
Yep.
So that came out just right before hunting season, I do believe.
Exactly. And then as far as other things that grabbed our attention, the Zoid.
Yeah, the big robot.
Then there was, okay, now I know you're going to love this one, by Carbon Express, was the AtlAtl.
You're going to see some video of that here, hopefully coming up this spring and summer of the AtlAtl. That is pretty cool. If you don't know what it is, AtlAtl. Just Google it.
Yeah,
it's a
Mike was drooling over it.
It's a primitive throwing. It's basically a way to. It's kind of like a spear almost.
It's basically
with a handle.
It's a 6-foot spear.
You
right?
throw it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So
yeah, we got to look at that one, and you should have seen Mike's eyes when he was looking at that. I
got all kinds of ideas.
Yeah, you did.
Yep.
He was like, oh boy.
So
what else? What else did you see as we were? We stopped in and talked to Family Traditions Tree Stand.
Talking to Jack Turner again.
Yeah, talking to Jack. He's doing wonderful. We were
Love
helping
their
him.
tree stands.
We were helping him try to decide whether to build a bigger building.
I want to give a shout out to Josh Hagerman. We were over there at Rambo Bikes, and he was showing me some of the gear he uses.
Right.
And I got on one of the bikes. I never did get over to ride it down the hall over at the testing facility or testing room they had. But I'm very intrigued by that ride.
Yeah.
It's really cool because, I ride to my stand, and I do a lot of riding during the summer back and forth on the bike that I got now. But that whole system's pretty cool, and some of the things that it does and the way it works. I really wish I'd had more time to spend in getting on one and actually riding it and checking it out. But if you guys don't know, it's the big fat tire bikes.
Yeah, one of the Rambo
and
big fat tire bikes.
It's either got pedal assist, or full on, electric motor on it.
Battery operated, I should say. Right?
Yeah, right. So, nope, that's pretty cool.
And my niece is watching with Logan. Hi, Logan. Another thing that happened, totally unscripted, totally uncopied, unvideoed, anything, was a bow showed up in a box that Dan got to unveil that had never been unveiled before, that was just coming in off the airplane.
Right, that was pretty cool.
On Wednesday night.
Yeah, Wednesday night we got to sit down and spend some time with Dan Yasa, and all of a sudden I look up and here comes a PSE box, through the hotel, and like, so we just carry boxes of bows through the hotel?
Right.
Like, hey, this is the new ramps, man. This is pretty cool.
This and never before seen by the public, just came in from Arizona.
Yeah.
That
was cool.
And Dan unwrapped it.
Yeah, he showed it to us. That was pretty cool.
He pulled it out of the box and unwrapped it out of the plastic and goes,
yeah,
here it is.
Check it out, boys.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like, wow.
The new Ferocity that PSE's got that's going to be in the Cabela stores.
I think that's going to be lights out.
They redid was it the Stinger? They redid the riser on the Stinger this year.
Oh, the Stinger was the riser, correct?
Yep. Made it thicker, a little beefier. But the Ferocity, I think that's going to be a great selling bow. That's going to be their top mainline bow that they're going to be in the box stores.
Yep, I think the Ferocity,
the Expedite we shot,
and what was the other one? The Ferocity and the other one, Ramped.
The Ramped, yeah.
The Ramped are going to be in your Cabela's type stores.
Yep. The one that the Ramped, that's the one we saw that we got to put our hands on before it actually got unveiled to the public. So
right.
That was pretty cool.
And then, like you said, the Expedite.
Yep.
That was a neat engineered bow.
You shot some of the crossbows.
Oh yeah, I did shoot the crossbows, and Again, depending on if you're short-statured like I am.
You found out real quick, didn't you?
Yeah, you find out real quick that those longer bows, or longer crossbows actually, aren't the way to go.
Right.
Because literally, I was pulling the string up and it jumped, and I ended up bending the arrow holder hook.
Trying to get it,
trying to pull it up, and I bent it, and I put it out of service real quick.
Yeah, way to go, Dan.
Yeah, thanks. But I did shoot the Fang LT.
Okay.
I think that rocks again. I like that one. Mm-hmm. Which then there's the Fang, which is a 1.25 inch longer stock. I shot that one. Mm-hmm. That was pretty good. And then I shot the I can't remember the name of it right now, but it comes in the 365 and the 400, I think. There again, excellent bows, excellent crossbows. But I'm a Fang guy because of my length. It's just trying to load it and get it set was just, that's what it. They shot all good. Yeah. It's just for me.
What fits. It's just like a bow. You got to get what fits you.
Right. Exactly.
So. Well, I'll tell you what. We're running up here towards the end of the podcast portion. We're going to continue on to the live stream, but I think what we need to do is kind of wrap up the podcast portion. Next week we can carry more into some of the things that
we'll
come
talk
back to
more.
us.
Yeah, well, we'll talk more next week.
We haven't even talked about Bad Lads Film Festival yet.
We did not get to the Outtech, the Hudala, and the Badlands.
So we can pick that up again on next week.
Yeah, we can talk about it next week.
So I'll tell you what, for the podcast, that'll do it for us this week. And join us again actually next week.
And remember,
we're going to be...
Well, first off, don't forget to catch us on goodtalkradio.com. And next week, we're going to be at Benefit for Kids.
And
Cabela's.
We're going to be live streaming.
At noon on Saturday.
If all the stars align correctly and everything goes well, because this is going to be the first time we've actually taken the whole studio out to live stream, folks.
So we're gonna take the studio there on Saturday and live stream on Saturday from noon till 1 in the atrium of Cabela's.
Yep, that'll be our podcast for the week.
Yeah, exactly. So just before we go to Benefit for Kids.
Right on. So, and we're going to be doing a little cooking over there.
We're going to be cooking some Super Bowl Sunday foods.
And it's going to be wild game stuff, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So be sure to join us for that live stream Saturday at noon. That'll do it for us this week, folks. This episode was brought to you by PSE Archery,
Carbon Express,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Wynd Scent Hunting Scents,
Killer Food Plots, Seeds, Supplements, and Attractants,
Cabela's,
Spot Shooters,
Limb Walker Turkey Calls,
Antler Action,
Family Tradition Tree Stands,
and Twisted Mind Bowstrings.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe until next week on the Up North Journal.